I'm Ayse Hogan from the Chakra House of Healing in a special Talk That Talk episode with Tariq Sattaur. Hey, Tariq.
Happy to be back.
Yes. So this is January.
It is.
And we are going to talk about New Year's resolutions.
Yes. I kind of wanted to talk about that specifically because almost everyone makes a resolution for the new year. And, you know, while it's a good idea to have a goal in mind,
right.
I wanted to just address the idea of how we go about making these resolutions and setting these goals for ourselves. Because oftentimes we tend to make a resolution based on what we think we should do.
Right.
And it's not really what we want in our lives.
Right.
And then we spend the first few months of the year...
Or the want is a superficial want.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're working and putting your energy into something that isn't really resonating at the level of your heart, what is really and truly meaningful to you. And you're putting a lot of time and energy into something at the end of which you feel bad about yourself for not maintaining that resolution.
Right.
And so I think it's an important idea for all of us when we're thinking about making goals, perhaps
right.
avoiding that term resolution altogether for the new year.
Right.
Is to take some time out and sit and reflect on the year and maybe on the few previous years that you've gone through. Look at the challenges that life has brought your way. Understand, you know, the wisdom, the lessons that are being offered to you. And then from that point of view, make a decision as to what your next step is going to be, you know, what your next part of the journey is going to be.
Well, I have a suggestion. I think that 2016 should be a year of healing.
Well, I
really think that people should start looking, you know, instead of making resolutions like, I got to get to the gym or, you know, like just the same things that we hear all the time. Maybe this is a year where people should, like you said, reflect. And maybe it's a year of healing for all those people that have been feeling like a victim for a long time, for all those people that have had a past that they are still letting them affect their future, you know, because they're not making decisions based on the now. They're making decisions based on scars that they have from the past.
Absolutely.
And I think that this year should be a year of saying, you know what, it's time to heal.
Absolutely. And I think one of the ways we can go about doing that is looking at what are, you know, the real challenges that we're facing. And oftentimes we look at the result, a consequence of something in our lives as being the cause. So for instance, you mentioned weight, and that's, I think, the number one thing, weight and smoking. Everyone wants to stop smoking and lose weight.
Yep.
And we look at, okay, I have some extra pounds that I want to shed, and so this, you know, that weight is the problem, and so we're looking at that as the thing we need to change, when really and truly, as we've come to know over the many years as the weight loss industry has kind of blossomed, that the weight isn't the problem.
Nope.
It's a consequence of what the
it's
problem
a symptom.
really is.
It's a
exactly.
symptom.
And so we're trying to fix a symptom, but you know, the cause of what that is still there, and we struggle and we do everything. We change our diet, we go to the gym, but at the end of the day, we still have this thing within ourselves that eventually causes us to stop going to the gym and to start eating the unhealthy foods again.
When I have the client, and you know too, we have clients come in and they want to quit smoking, or they want to stop nail biting, or they want to stop, you know, they want to lose weight, or whatever the symptoms are, you know, we try and get to the trigger.
Exactly.
Right? And you spend less time working on the symptom, more time working on the trigger, and once we've helped them heal the trigger,
right,
the weight comes off, the smoking stops. Like it's the rest of it is just easy after that.
It's easy. And for me, that's the thing. If you're attempting anything, whether, you know, it's changing a behavior or starting something new, if it's not easy, then there's something within you that's resisting that. It's creating that roadblock that's preventing you from taking those steps that should be effortless for you. And if you're finding that there's a difficulty, there's a challenge in taking something that other people seem to be able to do quite effortlessly, then you need to take a step back and say, okay, what is it that is making this so difficult for me? And, you know, I think as we begin to live a bit more of a self-reflective lifestyle and paying attention to what we really want, because
I think is happening more and more these days.
Absolutely.
Right.
And, you know, I make a joke of this in class when I teach, but I'd often say when we come to the day where we're looking at weight loss and smoking and, you know, the behaviors we want to change, I would say to the class that my goal that I've had for the last 3 years is to have abs.
I know, you said that when you were teaching me, and I'm looking at you going, well, where did you leave this belly? At home? Like, what are you talking about?
You see, that's just it, right? Because I needed something tangible to work towards, and I needed something that would be a visual as well as a kinesthetic thing that I can kind of see and feel about myself. But I don't have a weight challenge, thankfully, and I'm aware of what I'm eating and when I'm eating and how I feel when I'm eating. And
right.
Don't get me wrong, I have my days where I'll sit and eat a box of cookies, no problem.
Right.
But I needed something that I wanted to work towards, something I can see, and when I look in the mirror, I can say, okay, that is happening. And I think it's important for us to recognize, you know, the goals that we're setting for ourselves, whether they are something that's meaningful to us or whether it's just something that, you know, we're using as a
right. And
as
you
a
bring
way
up
to
the
move.
mirror, though. So when we look in the mirror, if we're not healthy within,
Right.
then we're not going to like what we see in the mirror no matter what.
No matter what.
You know, you can take the weight off, you can get your hair done, you can, like, you know, pump it up, you can do whatever you want. But if you're not feeling good within, you're still going to hate that reflection.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've been blessed with a variety of people who come to take classes with me, and in one of my recent classes, I had someone who, I mean, you look at her and she's stunning. And I won't say much more than that because it was just
Thank
remarkable.
you, by the way, for that.
Oh, yeah, I won't say anymore. You know, you get enough fan mail as it is, so I'm not gonna. But we did this exercise in class where I intentionally said, okay, I want you to go around and I want you to say this. I'm going to tell you what I want you to say, and I would like you to just say it, but I want you to say it with confidence and with meaning.
Right.
And I gave everyone something to say, and when it came to her, I mentioned, you know, I love my looks, I love my appearance, something to that effect, and she paused, and she couldn't quite articulate it. And then I said, okay, so we went around the class, and then I said, okay, now you choose anything you want to say about yourself that you would celebrate. I am awesome. I'm a great public speaker. I'm hot. I look great in a bikini. It doesn't matter. Just say what you want to say that you think is great about yourself. And for some people, the moment I say, okay, and I point to you and they paused, I said, wrong answer. Because we all want to have something that we can celebrate ourselves like that.
I know. My list is long.
And that's how it should be. You know, that is exactly how it should be. I mean, we were joking earlier that our resolution should
resolution that I'm not going to be as awesome as I
know,
truly
it's just so
am
much
already.
effort, you know. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's really hard to be me.
And imagine if you went around feeling that way every single day. That would be, I mean, let's drink to that.
Yep, that's a good one to drink to.
But I think, you know, and it's good wine, by the way.
It is good wine.
I think as we're starting to pay attention to what's really happening inside ourselves, and it's a great idea to have people we can speak with about this, you know,
right.
friends, those who you know are authentically there for
right.
you, who want you to be the best you can be. And unfortunately, not all of us are blessed to have people like that in our lives.
And you know what, and that's a really good point, because sometimes we think that the people who coddle us are the ones that support us.
Yes.
Right? You know, the ones that go, it's okay, you're so pretty, don't worry.
Yes.
You know, like that person, when my clients come in here, there is no coddling.
No, I
You know,
agree
there
with
is
you.
no coddling. There is directness. There is, let's deal with this. You have enough people in your life that pamper you and like, you know,
Well,
it's okay.
Right.
And that's not what you need because it's not working.
We support.
Right. Support for sure.
We support you.
Safe place to be, yes.
We let you know that
No
you can say whatever you want.
No failure in the
Perfect.
room. Absolutely. We only get feedback. So that's all good. But am I going to sit here and go, poor you? Hell no, not happening, right?
No, and we do that enough for ourselves, and we
Right.
have people in our lives who try to placate us just because it's easier to do that
Right.
than to confront us with the truth of what we need to recognize about ourselves.
Right.
And so in the case of us not having someone in our lives who's willing to do that, then I think it's important for everyone to have someone that they can go to who's objective about that.
Right.
And whether you see them as a life coach or spiritual coach, whether you go to a therapist or a counselor, it doesn't matter. You need to have someone, we all need to have someone in our lives that we can go to who looks at what we are experiencing in our lives objectively.
Right.
And asks the right question that perhaps we are unable to ask ourselves, because I know I'm not objective with myself. I see someone because I know I'm not objective with myself.
Right.
And I may have the knowledge and I may have the experience. This is what I do for a living and it's what I do with my clients. But at the end of the day, when it comes to me, it's very easy for me to just gloss over what I would rather not deal with or not even think about it at all.
Right.
And that's just the nature of how
Because
the
you're
mind
just
works.
you're used to how you are.
Right.
And you know the glaring stuff you know. You know, the stuff that glares at you, you get. But sometimes it's those, you know, you get to a certain point where you've healed and you've done some healing. And we're always healing.
Absolutely.
But there's always these little pieces
Yes.
that you still need, your attention. And I think sometimes you just go, you know.
Oh, for sure. And you've had several guests on now who have indicated that, you know, our challenges are actually blessings, and they're good things
Yes.
that come into our lives. And I think if we look at the challenges that we're facing, whether it be with food or, you know, a lack of exercise or, you know, a bad habit that we have, this is telling us something about ourselves. If we know intellectually, if we know in our minds that this behavior, this thing that we're doing is bad, and we're in the middle of it and we're still doing it, it is our system, our mind, our soul, whatever you want to call it, trying to say, look, there's something off here and you need to pay attention.
Right. Hold on to that for a second. Let's go to a Zen break.
Hi everyone, my name is Tariq. I'm a certified yoga instructor and I'm also a hypnotist and an NLP practitioner. I'm here today to talk to you about setting goals. It's extremely important, if there's something that you want to do in your life, to actually have a clear vision in your mind what it is you want to do. So what that means is having each step of the way and visualizing it and practicing visualizing it, because when you actually see it in your own mind, it's easier to do the actions that it takes in order to get to your goal. So if you have any questions for me at all, feel free to email me at tree@healthlocal.ca, or you can just go to healthlocal.ca and find anything that you need health. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back. So back to our New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
So you ended on the note of?
Well, we want to be able to recognize that there are oftentimes aspects of ourselves that we have denied, we've pushed it aside, we haven't paid attention to. And these would result necessarily in behaviors or thoughts or feelings that once we experience them, we know they're unhealthy for us.
You know what I think happens though, and I experienced this a lot. I experienced it myself, you know, very well, like in my own healings. And I did in fact hit bottom. So I think that people almost need to, it's like an addiction, right? Yes. You hit bottom and then all of a sudden it's like, I have to do something. You know, you feel like you have the option of, I have to do something, or in my case, I don't want to wake up anymore. Like there's something that needs to happen here. Not everyone's going to get to that extreme, but that's where I was. So part of doing the Chakra House of Healing, part of the clinic, part of the show is to tell people that, you know what, you don't need to hit bottom. Like you don't need to wait until you feel that desperate.
Right.
You know, you can just stop feeling like a victim now.
Absolutely.
You can just come in and have a few conversations and a few, you know, work with the program for, 5-10 sessions or whatever. And you know what? You're good. You can just move on. You don't need to wait until you feel like you have no other options.
Well, most people need to hit bottom because they can't conceptualize just how bad things can get. You know, they actually need to get to that point where they are almost at the point of being kicked out of their homes or losing their family or losing everything that they have before that realization can click in. But we have tools, we have skills, hypnosis, even energy, Reiki and other modalities that you've had on your show. These can help us to bring into an awareness in a very real and experiential way what that bottom would look like without you actually having to get there.
Right.
And then once you're able to tap into that awareness and you can live that experience through the session that you're doing with your facilitator, you begin to recognize, okay, this is what could happen. This is where I am heading. And it's not just a thought, it's an actual visceral experience you have in your body. And once you have that, that will motivate you to then do the things that are needed. Otherwise, you're just playing games with yourself.
And I think it's fear.
Absolutely.
It's fear. So like in my case, I had carried around pain for so long that it was like my arm, like my leg, like it was an appendage, it was a piece of me. And it was familiar. And it had been for so many years that you sit there and you go, well, if I get rid of this, what's going to be left over?
In your case, it was your power.
But I didn't think that. I thought there would be like this beat up woman just laying on the floor. Like you take away all that pain and there's just going to be a pile of goo. Like I had no idea what it was that would be left over. And in fact, it was like this it still astonishes me what came out of that. But I think that that's really what it is. And that's really what I experience too with clients that come in that have that pain, that they've had it for so many years, that they're afraid to get rid of it.
But to your point, I think it'd be important for you to also talk about how once you were able to get beyond that part of your life where you had that fear holding you back and you started to step into your power,
right,
you thought, oh wow, I'm doing so well. And then you discovered, wait, there's another level. And then later
I even did have a crash. Like I had a crash,
right,
and then I started getting better, and then I went,
right,
and then I had like this huge alignment happen, and it was just, it was a great experience. I learned so much about myself and what I was capable of without everybody else's garbage all over me. So it was just like shedding all of everybody else's issues from people that did things to me. Now, we all know that we manifest what happens to us. Like no one else is responsible for what happens to us but us. But just shedding that was just like, taking off layers of clothing, and all of a sudden you feel like, wow, I feel lighter, I feel good, I feel like, wow, I'm hot.
But how would you know that person, that who you really are, and therefore what you really want, if you have a chorus of voices telling you this is how you should be, this is how you should look,
right?
And we all have that. We have our families, our parents, and you know what, it's not necessarily coming at you in a mean or derogatory or destabilizing way. In most cases, it's actually coming with good intentions, because it is what these people think is best for you.
But we're also dealing with a generational thing. So our parents never went to psychiatrists and psychologists and holistic healers and stuff like that. They just dealt with their lives, and if they hated it, didn't matter. They just trudged through. In my generation, people started going and seeking help, and no, you weren't crazy to have a therapist, and you weren't crazy to go for coaching, and it was okay. And now it's becoming more and more that. Now I find like I'm a little bit concerned about the next generation, as I'm seeing that there's double income families, the parents are not at home, the kids are basically raising themselves. And I'm speaking very generally here, I'm not being specific. And, the stuff that's going on in the homes between the times when kids leave school and their parents get home is can be a little iffy. And these kids are not given the tools by their parents that they should have. Like my parents, as bad as, some things were, they never said don't do drugs, but they sure as hell made me watch a lot of like angel dust documentaries and stuff about cocaine. And like we got to see firsthand like what this can do. And we made our decisions, but our parents gave us the tools the best way that they could. Right? But I don't think parents have the time to do that now.
But you see, what you talked about, there was also interaction that you have, right?
Right.
And not just kids now, but I find even adults are getting so caught up in the digital world and, using social media as a way of connecting with others. And we're losing that ability to have that
face-to-face.
And
everyone's alone with their computer. Right.
And I feel like you actually need to have this face-to-face and this interaction in order to figure out who you really are, because we become other people online. And I learned about this thing fairly recently called catfishing.
Whatever. I did online dating, and that was just frightening.
But this is something that I found so strange, where someone goes online and they pretend to be someone entirely different. I don't know what show I was watching. It was a weird teenage show, and I don't know how I ended up there, but it was about this young woman who, I guess it was catfished by this guy for like 10 years.
Why would you have a relationship with someone for 10 years online and not even ever see them in person?
But you see, this is what I mean. We pretend to be something, and we're doing it more and more through social media and the digital world. We're pretending to be something that we're not. And I'm wondering if that's actually a good thing for us, because at the end of the day, when you shut that piece of equipment down, you're left with you, and that persona is no longer the case.
And you and I know, when you're doing emails and texts and so things can lose their meaning.
Yes.
Right, you can say something meaning one thing and it comes across meaning something entirely different.
I've gotten into trouble so many times.
I know, right? And you sit there and you're like, that's not what I said, that's not what I meant. And you're like, you end up calling them going, what are you talking about, right? Like, that's not what I said. So it's just, but that's happening more and more. And I go to restaurants and I'm out with friends and I'll watch a couple sitting together and they're both texting. Are they texting each other? Like, because they're not talking.
Right. And so what is it that we're doing that we're limiting ourselves from really and truly getting to know ourselves? And then we make a decision, and this is how we should be. we make a decision on a goal we want to accomplish and, a way we want to become for the new year. And halfway through the first month, we fall off the wagon.
Right.
And then we beat ourselves up about it. Now, we started this talk-to-talk interaction about energy. And
Right.
we know our thoughts are energy. We know our emotions are powerful energy. And so we start the year with this, and we fail at something that really isn't us. And we beat ourselves up about it. That's the energy we're choosing to start our year with. It makes no sense to me.
It's almost like when you get into like a little relationship and it's all lusty at the beginning and you're all like in it, and then like 2 months later, it falls off.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's always exciting in the beginning, right? But you have to know what you really want. And sometimes to know that, you have to know what you don't want. And those are the gifts life will give you when you encounter these situations and people who may push your buttons or may bring challenges to you, right? So you're learning what you really don't want. Be thankful for those just as much as you're thankful for the experiences that reinforce your awareness of what you really do want. And
and the great thing about healing as well, too, is that the people who are difficult in your life, the people that have to stay in your life, they could be a parent or whatever, or a spouse or whatever it is, some of these people have to stay in your life, and you're thinking, how am I going to interact with this person? I've had a situation like that, and it's like, how am I going to interact with this person? I'm feeling good now, but every time I'm around them, I'm like not. So you also learn, because your energy has changed, the way that you're dealing with things changes, and all of a sudden that relationship also begins to change because that person is not getting the same reaction from you that they've always received from you in the past.
Absolutely.
That defensiveness is not there. That like wall up is not there.
We really truly only learn through contrast.
Right.
And so having someone in your life who is, bringing that up for you to be aware of is giving you an opportunity now to learn that additional piece of the lesson where you're discovering more of the power that you possess.
Right. And on that note, about my power.
As usual.
About me.
Well, who else would it be, right?
Right. I don't know. What else are we going to talk about? Anyways, thanks a lot again for coming out to the Chakra House of Healing. I'd like to thank our sponsors. I'd like to thank Tariq, who's also one of our sponsors. You can catch the show on YouTube, on Vimeo, on the Big Book of Beauty, and of course on the website. Please send in your resolutions, send in your comments. Let's talk about them. If there's a healing that you want to know about, let me know what it is. If there's an essential oil you want to know about, let me know what that is. It's what we're here for. Thanks so much for everything. Have a fantastic new year. See you later.